Hello and welcome to Joey Sewy, my channel where I talk about sewing, knitting, textiles and life. Now today we're going to embark on a series of videos all about a prom dress I made, but these videos are not just specifically about prom dresses, they're about drafting and draping your own pattern and the processes involved in hand sewing and some couture finishing techniques. So even if you're not going to the ball, which I'm not because this dress is for somebody else, even if you're not going to the ball, there'll still be plenty of information in here for you. So this first video in the series is all about the first part of draping the bodice. Now, I met with my client Chloe, and she is a 18-year-old girl who has a prom to go to in there's just a few days now until her prom day, but this stuff I filmed a while ago because we're at the end of the process. And she gave me two inspiration pictures. She gave me this one and this one. The first one down here is all about the fabric that she wanted. She wanted Van Gogh's Starry Night print. So I've already done a video about a fabric haul where we got that fabric from Spoonflower, so if you want to see that, there'll be a link down below and at the end of the video. This top picture is an inspiration picture for the shape that she wanted. So she wanted a halter neck and she wanted a full circle skirt. So we met for about an hour. I took her body measurements. I talked to her about, okay, what is it you like about this dress? What is it that you want differently? Is the length right? Is the shape right? Is it exactly what you want, or are there variations? And we worked out together what it was that I needed to aim at with the first toile when I draped and drafted the dress the first time. So from that, she wanted it to be longer than the inspiration pictures. That inspiration picture has some, the darts are not actually darts in the bodice, they're more like pleats if you have a look closely at it. And that's not how she wanted it smoother. So those are the major points that I went away to try and find. Now I should say I am not a dress designer, although I can design dresses. And I'm not a couturier, although I can use a few couture techniques. So that's the level of skill that we're dealing with here. So when I want to design a dress for somebody that I don't have a direct pattern, they haven't said, this is the pattern I want, the first thing I do is go away and see if I can find a pattern, because why would I do the work if someone else has already done it for me? Obviously, if I was doing this commercially, that would be not allowed, but that's not what's going on here. So I had a look all through Bootstrap Fashion, I had a look all through the Fold Line website, and I couldn't find a halter neck circle skirt dress anywhere that I felt was close enough to make it worth buying the pattern versus buying something else and adjusting it. So that's what I did. I downloaded a circle skirt pattern from Bootstrap Fashions. If you're not familiar with their website, what's amazing about their website is you can put the body measurements in for the person that you're making the dress for, whether that's yourself or someone else. And the PDF pattern that comes out is already drafted to those body measurements, which seriously cuts down on measuring and drafting time. So I did that with the circle skirt, and circle skirts are just about the easiest thing in the world to fit, because all you need is the circumference of someone's waist, and then no matter how proportioned someone's hips are, a circle skirt is always going to fit, especially if it's a full circle, which is what we were working with. So that's what I did for the skirt. That was fairly simple, and I'll show you more of that later. What I did for the bodice was a little bit more tricky, because there must be a pattern for a plain halter neck bodice somewhere, but I couldn't find it at the time I was looking. I still feel like I must have missed something really obvious, but anyway, couldn't find it when I was looking. So what I did instead, what I felt the closest version was to go back to Bootstrap, using the fact that I could put the measurements in for the body that I was working with, and I used a raglan dress block, or sloper if you're in the US. So they had a regular raglan. A raglan seam is the diagonal seam here, so the pattern I was using actually is made to have a sleeve attached with a seam there, but I didn't want to use that sleeve, but the fact that the seam was there helped with the fit because it meant that I wasn't going to have to cut anything off here. It was already done for me. So I input Chloe's measurements, downloaded the block for that dress, didn't use the sleeves, didn't use the skirt, but took the front and the back and started from there. So what you're going to see in the video is what I did from having that raglan block starting point to fit both to Chloe's body as well as I could without her being there, and to the shape of the dress that I was trying to get. Now I have a dress form which I've made exactly for my size. Chloe is not my size, so I also have an adjustable dress form which I made as small as possible, and it was still not quite small enough, but it was good enough to drape on, and that's how I prefer to work. I am much more comfortable draping and moving actual fabric around on a 3D form than I am with a 2D piece of paper on a table, because I'm not trained in pattern drafting. I know a little bit, but I don't know enough to kind of manipulate and shape and do things like that, especially not on somebody else's body. I know a little bit about doing it for mine, but not about doing it for somebody else's. So the way we went was to drape on a dress form, and that's what you're going to see now. So here's how far I've got. I've got this side covered up because I've made some changes there already, but this side is unchanged, so I thought I would show you that and then show you how I've changed it to make the muslin work better. So this is the muslin as straight off the pattern. Here we've got quite a lot of gaping, okay, so that needs dealing with. Obviously the side seam, the seam is there, so the side seam is far too big because the side of the body is down here, well, just in from where those pins are. There are drag lines that you can see, diagonal drag lines here. So there's a few things that we need to do. We need to remove the excess up here, and we need to resolve these drag lines. Now I've already made these clips here because if they were together the drag lines were even worse and the side seam was even worse. So clipping those out has helped the fabric relax a little bit. The most obvious thing to do to get rid of the bulk there would be to sort of make a dart, but I don't want to make a dart because I don't want a line in my garment. So what you can actually do, if I take out these pins from the side seam, is we're gonna, essentially, technically speaking, it's called rotating the dart to move it. So any excess that you have anywhere around here, you can actually rotate it. So you could put a dart up here that would remove this, you could put a dart here that would remove this, you can take it out anywhere. So for example, we could put a dart there, okay, so we've got a big dart here, but we've got perfect smoothness there now, but I only want one dart in my garment, so I need to rotate all of that into the dart that I already have. Okay, so I'm going to do this quite rough and ready, but you'll see the theory working. Okay, so I've taken all of that fullness, I've got a much bigger dart because there was already a dart there, and I've essentially doubled it. Okay, that has also helped these drag lines here, so that is now sitting smooth. What it hasn't helped is that the side seam's gone a bit mad. Okay, if this was the final garment, what I've got now is that the grain line here is quite diagonal, but although the side seam is not straight, if I pin that, I've got the waistline marked here. If I pin that, I can then mark where the side seam needs to be. And mark the waist seam. Because you may not be able to see, but underneath here my dummy has got a waste mark, so I can see that through the fabric. Okay, so we've got flatness here now, we've got a much bigger dark, we've eliminated the drag lines that we did have, and we now have a straight side seam, or at least a mark for a straight side seam. So that's exactly what I've done on this side. If I reveal this side to you, the difference with this side, you can see how good that looks in comparison. It's smooth, smooth here. This fold, I've got a crease in my fabric to mark the centre front to make sure it stays true. The one thing that remains is that the dart is a little bit pointy. We've got a bit of a pointy boob going on. So I referred to my sewing Bible, the Vogue sewing book, and it says of darts, the front dart, if you have a front dart, it should end between 1/2 and 1 inch, 13 to 25 millimeters below the apex of the bust. So the apex is the most prominent point, the bit that sticks out the most. So at the moment this ends actually on the apex. So probably what's going on with this weird fabric there is that it's ending too high. So I need to just re-sew the dart, redraft the dart so that it ends here, is the dropped area, so it's between 13 and 25 millimeters from the apex of the bust. So this is a really great book for all sorts of bits of sewing and fitting advice. It's pretty thick. Not sure if it's still in print, but I'll put a link down below if there are still copies available, but I refer to this really often. It's got all sorts of techniques in it. So I'll be back when I have a further update. Okay, so I have lowered the dart, and I think it's okay. I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to keep messing around with it because there's a serious danger that I'll overfit it. And although this mannequin is adjusted to be close to Chloe's size, it's not perfect. So I think I need it on the actual human. So what I'm going to do, I've got various colours here, so I'm going to mark with another colour Sharpie down there. And then I'm going to move on to working out what to do with the neckline. I need to get a collar band neckline going on there. It's going to have to be a curved piece to fit flat on the body, so I'm going to work out how to draft that. It's worth knowing this will bleed through onto the underneath, so if you've got a beautiful dress form, you're going to need to use a pencil or something that won't bleed through, but a Sharpie marker will definitely bleed through and might ruin your dress form. So if that bothers you, you need to use a different device. I've had a little bit of a play around with the neckline, but I'm going to leave that until it's on Chloe because I think it really needs to be what she feels like it needs to look like when it's on her. So I'm going to keep it there at the moment, and then we'll see what it's like when it's on her. I've got a rectangle of fabric. I've put it across here. You can see under there the shape of the bodice as far as we've got it so far. I've pinned it approximately at the shoulder points, and now I'm going to start messing around with it to make it fit. So the first thing I'm going to do is just cut that open to relax it, and I'm going to cut down here. That snip has really made the fabric relax, which really helps. And adjust that pin a little bit. And I'm just actually going to concentrate on this side. I'm going to take away some of the excess up here. Be conservative. I need to make another little cut. I'm going to use my sewing gauge and point turner to measure a consistent depth to the neckband. So I'm pretty happy with that as a first go. As you can see, I need to add in some here to the bodice, and what I've shaded goes up to the top of the shoulder. Now I need to work around to the back of the collar band. So I'm going to turn this around to get a little bit more relaxation in that fabric. I think that's okay. Obviously I've accidentally cut a bit there, so I'll just make sure that that section there is joined together. But we've got a band that looks pretty okay for now. So I'm gonna cut that out and then place it on and see what it looks like. We have the neckband cut out. I'm pretty pleased with that. There we go. I made it extra long at the back here, so I can overlap it and pin it on Chloe when we try it on. But it's laying really beautifully flat on the mannequin, and it's a consistent width. So there's obviously a gap here, so what I need to do to the bodice pattern is add length and fill in that gap. So I'm going to take that and do that next. So we've got a rectangular piece of fabric that I have stitched onto the original neckline, and what I'm going to do now is just cut a little bit of ease down here first of all, so it lays much flatter. Then I'm going to take my Sharpie marker and I'm going to mark the seam line of the neckband that I can see, and then there will of course be a seam allowance, so we'll mark that as well. I'll take this off the mannequin and I'll cut there. Thank you, Felix. So there, I have cut that, trimmed it. I'm going to take that and that will become my pattern piece for my bodice with the centre front and the pattern piece for my neckband.
Yes.
Thanks, Felix. So that was step one in getting the toile ready. What I'm going to show you in the next video is the rest of getting the toile ready, right up to the first fitting with Chloe. If you would like to see a playlist of all the videos when they're up, it will be here. If you would like to see another video from my channel, it will be here. And if you'd like to subscribe, you can click here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again really soon with the next instalment. Bye for now.